Good morning, Flosstube. I'm Tanya the Starlit Stitcher. Welcome to my channel all about cross stitch. I had a very busy and full stitching schedule this week. I got a lot done. I cannot wait to show you. I have two finishes to talk about today, but first I want to talk about something I received from Fat Quarter Shop the day before yesterday. I had pre-ordered the Bee's Knees book stand back in like November, and it came. I am so excited to talk about this. Now, you've seen people talking about that little short one. It's like blue and denim colored, and that's really cute. That looks awesome to travel with and stuff. But for me, I went for this one because it's bigger. I do a lot of bigger charts and things like that. You guys know that if you've been watching me for a bit. And it's, like I said, it's pretty sizable. It's pretty hefty. It's well made. The back with the hinge is very simple, and yet it holds it very well here. I'm going to put it here like that. Let me hold it closer so you can maybe see the bee in there. So it's got that cute bee. And let me grab a bigger chart. See how big this is? And because it's metal, you don't have to worry about your things flopping out. It's big enough that you can maybe even put two pages side by side if they're this big size like this. It's also magnetic. Now, like, it won't hold your scissors. That's not going to stick. But especially for those of you who stitch in hand with the sewing method, it'll hold your needle minders. So now you don't have to shove your needle into your fabric whenever you're done stitching. You can have your needle minder on this and then put your needle to your needle minder on this. How awesome is that? And then when you're done, this will fold up and lay flat so you can put it away in a cupboard or a drawer or whatever. So you don't have to have it all the time if you don't want or need to. So that's great. I'm so happy that I got that. They are available for regular purchase now on Fat Quarter Shop, so I'll try and link that below in the description box. It was $31.48, I think. So this was a good investment. I felt like that was a good price for that. And so that's where you can find that if you'd like to get one of these as well. I might even get me a second one. I don't know why, but like you can put like your cookbooks and your tablets and things like that on there. So you can use it for more than just your stitchy patterns. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. Now let's go into the finishes. My first finish this week was Curious Mermaid by Autumn Lane Stitchery. There she is on the pattern. And here she is in her frame. Sorry about the glare today, guys. I'm trying to do the best I can with it. Now this was stitched with the excuse me, I cannot talk again today. This was stitched with the Call for DMCs, and I used a 28 count jade lugana by Picture This Plus. I think that I've forgotten to actually say that every other time that I've showed you this while I was working on it, but that's what it is. It's a jade lugana by Picture This Plus, 28 count. And this gold in here is Petite treasure braid. That is the called for. I didn't struggle too much with that. It was my first time working with it. I started with one strand, but it didn't have enough coverage for me, so I went with two. I just loop started it like I did with the DMC and worked very carefully with it. My strategy on that was to stitch all the regular DMC floss stitches all around it so that once the treasure braid stitches were in, I wouldn't be poking into those holes afterwards and risking the metallic threads shredding any more than necessary. Now, I do think that she looks pretty good. Now, as you guys can see, a couple weeks back I told you about a mistake I had made up here in the border. I did go back and add another stitch in there because I thought it looked a little bit funny, so I added a stitch. But there was going to be way too much frogging involved for me to want to rip it out and do it again by the time I found the mistake. So I fudged here in the boat and over here in this border to get everything realigned where it should be at. And as you can see, that was very successful. I didn't have any more problems through the whole rest of the chart. So I'm super excited to have this done. Now this frame, I framed it myself using a frame from Hobby Lobby. I bought it on sale at 50% off. It's an 11 by 14. I'll put the item number down in the description box below. Now I did do pretty good with that. She could have been a little bit, like it's a little bit high, like close to the frame up here. And so there's a little bit more space than there is, you know, it's not the same on the top and the bottom. But this is going in my girls' room. They're not going to notice. And then on the back, it has those awful prongs. Again, I do not like those. Don't try to work those with your fingernails, guys. What I do is I take a quarter and I leverage the quarter to get those things up and down so I don't hurt myself. And then I close them as back up as best as I can. And then I just add these framing doodads on the back to secure all my stuff in the frame. But here we go. The Curious Mermaid. I love it. And now I know that you guys have been waiting for me to finish this one for a bit, and so I set it up for you guys behind me. Now I'm going to talk about it. This is Long May She Wave by Stitching with the Housewives. Now I finished it on a table decor item from Hobby Lobby, which I set it back here because up here you won't be able to see it. So I put it behind me on this so you kind of, you know, get the idea of how it will look once I actually have my house to set it up and display it in. But anyhow, so let me grab it. So with the tray, as I said, that is a table decor item from Hobby Lobby. I got that on sale for half price. And this easel thing, not eagle or evil, easel, I found over by, it was on an end cap over by the frame section, but it was labeled as a table decor item, and it was half price also whenever I bought it. Now now these are intended to be interchangeable because I want to be able to take these things off and put other things on as I want to. So I didn't want to have a whole lot of decorations going on either of these items so that I'd be able to do that. So on my actual stitching piece, let me pop this off. So I just used a sticky board for my stitched piece. Now what I did is I did not put my stitching directly on the sticky board. Sticky board, I mean. I took a piece of quilt batting and put that on the sticky board. I took a piece of fusible interfacing and I ironed that to the back of my cross stitch. That will help it so that my you know, stitches won't start popping out from the front because this is open. It's not behind glass like what I do on my framed pieces. It'll be open and it's kind of big, so I'm a little bit, I don't know. We'll see how this works out long term. But so I took a piece of that fusible interface and I ironed it onto the back. Don't iron that onto the front. Make sure it's on the back before you do that. I've heard horror stories of accidents happening and their piece was, I don't know if they were able to save it or not, but make sure if you do that, it's on the back. And so you got your sticky board with the quilt batting on the sticky side of the sticky board, and then your stitching goes on top of the quilt batting and then wrapped around your board like this, like what I did with this other fabric. Now this fabric is, I opened up my Chelsea's checks, and I was debating between this one and the red and white. The red didn't quite match the reds that were in here that I had, and so I went with the blue because I felt like it would bring out, like, you know, the truck color and stuff. So that's the way that I went. But you could do the red also and it will look fine. I just preferred the blue myself. So, and the Chelsea's checks, I put that on a separate board. Now the second board is not sticky board. I wanted to do sticky board for both because that would be less weight for my magnets to have to hold. I thought that I had bought some 11 by 14 size sticky boards. I didn't. I only bought 9 by 12, and so this was bigger than, this piece was bigger than that, obviously. So this is just my regular acid-free foam board that I use when I go to regularly frame stuff. So you could use either one. It's just I would have preferred to use the lighter option. But I will tell you, the magnets that I got are super strong, so that wasn't even an issue. But I'll get to the magnets here in a second because I'll talk about what's on this little easel. Okay, now those guys there in the middle, those are just needle minders that I got off of 123 Stitch. They're called USA Squared. I got 2 of them, and these are not the magnet parts. They're hot glued onto this, but none of the rest is attached at all. So they could be taken off like that. And my little ribbons are not attached to the magnet either. So these can be, if they wear out or whatever, I can replace them, or maybe I might want to use a different 4th of July item on here, but use different bows or ribbon or whatever. I just laid them like that and stuck them on there like that. I mean, I'm a very simple person, and that was, I mean, it looks like it's on there more than that, but it was very easy. And for the edges of these, since they're not like looped over or anything like that, I take a lighter and I slightly burn the edges of my ribbons when I cut them, because this is they're made out of a synthetic material, so when they slightly melt, that will give your ribbons a little bit of an edging to prevent them from fraying. But like I said, I made them easily replaceable, and I don't have to like tear anything off or anything like that if I want to, get some new ribbons or different ribbons or whatever it is that I want to do. But this will give me, oh, I guess I need to hot glue again. So note to self, use more glue than I did. But if you're not, oh, I see what I did. It's because I actually grabbed that instead of my other magnet. Okay, so apparently we have a little bit of kinks to work out, but if you're not a savage like me, your stuff will be fine. And you can it'll be good. I'm going to hot glue that back on there once I'm done with this video. But that was, I like it. I'm super happy with how that turned out. I'll just be doing some more gluing today. Now let's talk about the magnets that I'm using to hold on here. Okay, so on the back of my foam board, this is just a 2-inch washer, super cheap, and it's just hot glued on there. And the magnet that's on here, this was called a round base magnet. It's intended to help you like hang stuff from your ceiling or outside on your porch or whatever. It's one of those. It's supposed to hold up to 25 pounds, so it's a pretty strong magnet. A little bit too strong, actually. So once I got it on here, well, actually, first what I did before I glued anything was I took my washer and this, once they were both out of their packaging, to kind of test how strong that it was and how... it was really hard to get those separated. Like if I tried, how would you call it? I mean, if I had not tested in advance, we might have some problems because the bonding between the magnets would be stronger than the bonding between the hot glue. I mean, we just seen what happened to my little magnet because apparently I didn't glue that good enough. That would be what would be happening with this and that. Or my, you know, it would tear off of my, my mat board, or, you know. So I took a piece of felt and I traced the circle around it and cut out that circle, and I hot glued the circle just around the edges because I wasn't really sure what would happen if I put hot glue on the actual like magnet itself. When you see this, you'll see the magnet kind of looks like a donut shape on the back, so there is kind of like a hole in it because, like I said, it's meant for like hanging stuff on your porch or whatever, so there's a hole for you to drill up and nail it in there, but that's not what I used it for. But so anyhows, I just hot glued the outside of that little piece of felt and stuck it on there, and I haven't had any issues with that. So it just easily goes on and off. And I did make sure to glue that really well, so I have not seen any issues with this part of it. Now I do remember when I was putting my little easel together, I do remember that I had actually, you know, put a little bit more glue on this side and squished it on there, because something else that I learned about hot glue today, I mean not today, but when I was putting this all together, because I've only ever used hot glue, I mean not very many times before in the first place, but I've never used it for a bigger thing like this. This is a 9 by 11 design, so it's kind of big. The thing with hot glue is it's really hot. You can burn your fingers, like no joke. But if you're not fast, it also dries really fast, and if it's dry and hard, it's not going to stick to the thing that you're trying to stick to it. So you got to move fast on your stuff. So apparently that's what happened with my first magnet. Maybe I was a little bit too slow on that. But so my story, I'm putting this together because I just used tacky glue on the back of this, and whenever I was folding this over on the sticky board part for this, but to actually hold the two together, I used hot glue. And my first try did not go so well. I was like, oh God, it's all drying up, and now like all the glue that I had put there is all hard, it's rigid, it didn't stick together, and now what am I going to do? Because I can try again, but those ridges caused by my first ones might make it so that my second go of the glue may not, you know, be able to get through the ridges and stick, and I'm like, so I was all sitting there on the back and picking those things of dried hot glue off because I wanted to try and get it as flat as I could to have another go at it. And let's just say there's a reason why you only see the front and not the back. So it's okay if you have to end up doing the same thing that I did. So on my second go, when I went to go in hot glue again, I was like, okay, super fast, swirl swirly around the edges, stick it on, and that was successful the second time. But just keep in mind, fast, F-A-S-T, go fast when you do the hot glue on something like this. Well, on little stuff too, but because this is bigger, it takes longer to, you know, get your glue all around. And so, yeah, okay. And I will fix you later. I don't have any other charts yet that will go on this, but you know, as I get more decorations, and you see, like, you know, I don't have to have one this big go on here. I could have a smaller one, or whatever. And then also the idea is there will be other stuff around it, so it doesn't need to be super busy either. But, so yeah, that is that. I can put that away before I hurt myself with that. So let's move on to the other stitching that I did this week. The flea market basket sale. I knew going into this month that this would be probably not the funnest month, and August will not be the funnest either, because this month was this inner gingham, and August will again be gingham for the outside. So the inside this month and August will be the outside. So I was like, that's going to take me some time. And that's also not something that I want to get behind on, because that will be very difficult to play catch up later if I, don't keep up on that with that big of an assignment this month. And so, let me show you it. Here it is. I got it done. I'm not going to lie though, it was a bear. Like, it does not look like it would be that bad and take that long or be as much actual stitching as it is, but it is. Like, for me, even for me, that was about 18 hours of stitching this week just on this project. And that was as I said last week, I hadn't even started on the gingham, so that was me start to finish on this gingham on these. Now, somebody who does the sewing method, sewing in hand, can stitch a lot faster than me. Otherwise, I think I stitch probably at about an average speed. But even still, that's a lot of stitching. Like, oh my gosh. I think it's really good that the entire chart was available for people to see how it was before starting the sale, instead of like a like a mystery sale type of thing where you don't see in advance what your pieces or what it looks like when it's going to be done, and you have no warning that some of it is going to be full coverage. But I got it done, and so yeah, I am glad that that is done for this month, and next month will be just these 3 baskets here. So that is going to be significantly easier than what I did in this last week. So it'll be a breather. Okay, so American Deer, this is my evening stitching. There he is on the little picture. And here's how it's going. I finished out the stripes over here, and I started filling in his neck and chest here. So this is moving along pretty well. It looks pretty good too, I think. Okay, on to unicorn poop for sale. I'm trying to not knock over anything on that other little table I have next to me. Here's the picture on that for when it's done. This is a Heaven and Earth design, and the artist is Sheena Pike. It's super cute. And here's where that's at. I only got about... I got less than half of what I would normally be doing on this every week, because of with the gingham on the flea market baskets, that did take time from other projects. But the good news is it's done. And I also have spring break coming up. Not next week, but the week after that. And so with not having to take the little to school and have to go and pick her up and then come back for that week, that gives me 7.5 extra hours of stitching that week. So I am okay with these other things being a little bit further behind than I would have liked them to be for this week, because I know that there will be makeup time later in this month, and it will be okay. And lastly, I know you guys have been waiting on this. I did start my Pandemic by Long Dog samplers. And that'll be how it looks when it's done. I chose to go dark fabric with a light floss. And here's how it's going. I don't know if that helps or not. So yeah, I had also wanted this to be a little farther along than it is right now. But as I said, that was a lot of stitching on that gingham. Like, I knew that that was going to be a lot on the gingham, but even I underestimated that. But this, when I sit down and I'm working on it, it actually is going pretty quick. So I still feel that I can meet my goal of having it over halfway done. I would like to have, I want to say about 12 pages done going into April. And I think I can still meet that. But I am going to have to rearrange, the schedule on that I stitch on things, because what I need for this to happen is I need more daylight hours to work on that. So I've decided that I'm going to be pulling unicorn poop from my Saturday, because normally that's my Saturday scheduled stitching. Every Saturday I do unicorn poop for sale. I'm going to pull that from Saturday, and that's going to be my early morning stitch, because I did that for the first time yesterday, and with it being an 18 count, I'm doing fine stitching that in my early morning. Now, I had been working on the Curious Mermaid in those early hours, but that's a lighter fabric. When I was trying to work on this in my early mornings, that was not working out very well for me because it's dark. I had the same problems when I was working with the black fabric for Long May She Wave. And so that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take unicorn poop for sale and put that in my early morning. And then that will give me Saturdays and daylight hours for Pandemic. And then that should work out for both projects. So both projects should see a lot more progress in this coming week. I am very excited about that. And so that is everything that I've got to show you guys today. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, I feel like this was short, but it's at 28 minutes already. But anyhow, I'll let you guys go. Have a fantastic stitching week, and I will give you some more updates next Wednesday. Bye, guys.